Hey everybody, this is Nick Baldwin, and today I'm being joined by Paul Hughes, who headlines PFL Belfast this weekend against Bruno Miranda. Paul, how are you?
Life's good, bro.
Excellent. Thanks so much for taking the time. I appreciate it. Of course, we're just a few days away from this big fight against Bruno Miranda in your hometown. First fight in Belfast since 2019. What are the feelings? What are the emotions? Just days away from this huge fight for you.
Pure excitement, my man. Pure excitement. I am very content. I feel very centered and content around it all, but the excitement is certainly kicking in as well.
Excellent. And of course, just a few days away from weigh-ins. Is all that going good? Weights in check?
Great.
Excellent. Can you put into words how important this is to you? When you had the fight with Usman Nurmagomedov back in January, you got on the mic and you said, "I want to fight him in Belfast." Of course, it's not going to be Usman on Saturday, but it's going to be someone else. Hopefully, leading to that, it's still going to be in Belfast. Personally, just how big of a deal is this going to be walking into the SSE arena and not just being part of the event, but being on top of the event as well?
Yeah, look, I mean, I dragged the PFL back to Belfast. I called for it many times. It has been number one on my MMA bucket list to fight at home here in the biggest arena in the country. That is the SSE Arena. Um, it's been my dream, so it's gonna be dreams come true on Saturday night. So it doesn't get any better than that.
What makes fighting at home so special for you?
Oh, there's so much to it. There's so much to it. I guess first of all, people who sometimes can't travel to watch you fight around the world have the opportunity to see you perform at home. So thousands of people. I think we're looking at about 7,000 people are going to be in the arena on Saturday night. I mean, that is extra special. That is something that you will go to the grave with. It's something that many people will get to do in their fighting careers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's unbelievably special.
And to your point, I mean, about people who can be there who otherwise wouldn't be, I would imagine like family, extended family, some friends too that maybe aren't going to get on a flight to Riyadh, but, a quick drive down to the SSE, that's not a problem, right?
Exactly. Look, and that's why we're gonna have 7,000 people in there on Saturday.
What feels bigger? And I think this is an interesting question. The Usman fight back in January for the title or this one? Of course, the stakes were bigger in the title fight just with the belt on line, but this is just such a big deal for you personally. What feels bigger to you?
I couldn't say one is bigger because they're both incredibly meaningful to me in different ways. So it would be hard to say that one is better than the other. They're just equally special.
In terms of fight night, maybe before, leading into the cage, things like that, are you expecting sort of extra nerves, extra excitement? What is your expectations for what fight day, fight night looks like for you?
Honestly, I feel like a young veteran at this point. I feel like nothing can phase me anymore. So I actually enjoy and embrace all of the fight day experiences from the waiting around throughout the day to driving to the arena to warming up. I love it all.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I start warming up, my hands are wrapped, my music is on, I immediately enter the zone, and I love that. There's nothing I love more about fighting than the whole wait before the walkouts, having the walkouts, and then getting the fight and perform. So I love it all.
Yeah. There was a Bellator Champion Series event in Belfast last March. Were you at that event or no?
I was there, yeah.
You were. What did you think of the atmosphere at that one?
Look, I mean, I wasn't fighting, so how good could it be?
And is the goal to bring the energy, maybe make it even better than that one 14 months ago?
It won't even be in the same stratosphere as what I bring to the team. Absolutely not. I'm gonna hopefully sell this place out, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's different gravy when I'm in town.
You mentioned a couple of minutes ago how you're essentially dragging the PFL back to Belfast. What in your mind, like, what does it say about how the PFL views you and values you? That I mean, I'm not sure if you're on this, if you're not on this roster, I'm not sure they're putting this event on. Maybe they are because they did do the Bellator one in Belfast last year, but they are building this around you. There's no doubt about that. What does that say about how Don Davis and Pete Murray and the rest of the PFL brass sees you and values you as a star and contender?
Yeah, look, really good question. It, it's very important to me that it really does show me that they value what I'm saying, because I did in two post fight interviews, I did bring up Belfast. They know that this is where I'm from and where I represent. So to kind of, I guess, get rewarded after the world title fight, after I guess beating AJ and then fighting Usman, for getting a reward for that does show me that they value me, which is unbelievably important for athletes, because sometimes I feel like we're not really valued enough because we're the ones putting our lives at the line at the end of the day. So to get a reward is nice, but also it's good business. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's all good business for all parties. So it is a smart business move as well.
Back on that January day when you fought Usman and then made the mention of Belfast in that post fight interview, were there discussions pretty quickly after about whether Belfast can be a real possibility? Like from the PFL brass, did they say anything to you that night? Probably not that night, but how soon after did this kind of become a reality? Maybe.
It probably was a couple of months, to be honest. Now,
Okay.
directly after the fight, I did say to them, if it's not Usman next, like, let's please bring it to Belfast, because why the hell not? So they did listen, and I appreciate that. But yeah, I'd say maybe a couple of months it took until I
Okay.
got
Okay.
confirmation that it's happening.
Did you like even from January onward? Were you kind of hopeful or confident that this event would happen, or did you think, oh, this is wishful thinking? Like, where was your head at in that regard?
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I was just praying and hoping, to be completely honest, because
I
I do believe they changed their schedule. They had a schedule already, and they did move a few things around to get Belfast in the card. So
mhm.
that, as I say, greatly appreciated.
I guess the most important part is that it is happening. It's happening in just a few days now. I'm curious. This will be, I believe, your fourth fight in Belfast. First, as I said, in about 6 years. You've had fights in Dublin before. For those who maybe don't live in Ireland, aren't familiar with the culture and that sort of thing. How would you compare fighting in Dublin to fighting in Belfast? For you personally, as someone who is in Belfast and trains out of Belfast, of course, Dublin is kind of like a hometown fight, but not
Mhm.
quite. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. Look, another really good question. I'm really enjoying this. Look, Belfast is my home, so it's just different when you
Mm-hmm.
get to fight at home. When you get to fight in the arena that you drive past for all them years, and every single time you look at it and say, I'm gonna main event in there someday. That's special.
Mm-hmm.
That is what life is about. That is my dreams coming true. So that would be the difference. Purely that this is my home, and this is where all of my friends, everyone, we all live close by. Dublin's a little bit farther away in the country. So yeah, that's why it's more special.
I get the sense, and just for me, like I'm in Canada, and so I'm thinking, for a Mike Ballot, let's say in the UFC to fight, I don't know, let's say in British Columbia, in Vancouver, that's the same country, but it's not, the province or the city he's from. So it's a hometown fight, but not as hometown as Belfast is for you. Bruno Miranda, of course, is going to be the guy standing across from you. What do you know about him? And I guess specifically, where do you see him challenging you, perhaps? And what do you have to be most careful about in this matchup?
Yeah, look, Bruno is a very dangerous opponent, and he's someone that I'm not taking lightly at all. He's someone that possesses really good knockout power, strong kicks. He's just after beating a former world champion in Patricky Pitbull. Very dangerous guy, very very dangerous. Now I have, of course, extensively studied him. I do believe that I am on another level than him, and I will show that, because that's what I do. I always perform when it matters, and Saturday night I will do that again.
Mm-hmm. Of course, some people, including yourself, wanted to see the Usman rematch right away. In some ways, I actually think waiting gives the option of or the possibility of making this rivalry even bigger. Right? If you were able to get back on track this weekend, win a big fight, maybe a big finish, it just makes everything a bit bigger and sets it up a bit more. Now that you are fighting Bruno and not Usman, and you've kind of come to terms with that and this matchup. How do you feel about the direction that the PFL ultimately went in?
I think it's brilliant. I think it's very, very good. Look, if I wasn't getting to fight Usman right away, he had Ramadan, all these things coming up, then
Mm-hmm.
having the opportunity to fight at home is massive. As I say, brilliant for all parties. Hype's an even bigger rematch. But it's still down to me to really do the business on Saturday, and that is what I will do. I foresee a spectacular knockout. I really, really do. And yeah, the more spectacular, the more this rematch is hyped.
Now, I don't imagine there's much question about what will be next for you if you win on Saturday, but I do want to ask, has the PFL talked to you about that? Have they, you know, confirmed as much as they can that Usman, the rematch will be next after this weekend?
We have not we have not we've not talked
No.
about it.
Okay. And you're, I assume, okay with that.
Yeah, sorry, I got a call there. My bad.
No, that's okay. That's okay. But
Uh,
you're fine that, there's been no discussions. That's a matter for a future date.
Look, this is what I want. This is what the PFL want. Of course, they want to make the biggest fights they can. It's just convincing Usman and his team to take the fight. But at the end of the day, they will have no choice.
Do you think it will take a bit of convincing though? Or
I guess we'll have to see. I just got to make sure I get a good knockout on Saturday.
do you think you surprised Usman in that first fight? Was he
Yeah, no,
expecting?
no
Sorry.
question. He
Yeah.
was looking past me. He was not expecting what happened.
Hmm. But he'll know. Do you feel like he'll not train harder per se? I don't want to make it sound like he didn't train for that first one. Of course, he's a champion. Of course, he trained. But do you think now he knows? When you guys do fight again, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, look, he knows, but I think that we got a good feel of each other over them 5 rounds, and I think that he knows for a fact that he is in for another hard night.
Have you kind of envisioned what after this fight on Saturday looks like the post fight interview? Do you have anything in mind in terms of do you get on the mic and call him out right away? Do you not? Have you thought about that or not so much?
Oh, I've thought about it. Just wait and see.
I don't want you to spoil anything, and I know you don't want to either. So we will see what happens on Saturday. I wanna end with this. This is of course the first PFL season or the first PFL campaign where they are doing this single elimination tournament as opposed to sort of the points and season format. Now, of course, you aren't part of that. You're part of what they're kind of referring to as the Champion Series. But I'm curious, do you like that they're keeping this platform that you and Usman and others are on separate from the tournament? Would you have preferred to kind of be part of the tournament or for it all to be combined? How do you feel about what the PFL has put together for 2025?
I like it. I think that the tournament format is much better than the season that they had. I think straight knockout is what everybody prefers. I think it makes the fights bigger, to be completely honest. And I do like that that's another product to the Champion Series because you have the likes of my Uzun and myself fighting in the Champion Series. I like it. I think it's good to have a tournament product and it's good to have a Champion Series product. I think that is good for all of us.
Paul, you said brutal knockout, I think is exactly what you said. Are we feeling early, late, or do you not want to give anything away?
I think first round knockout.
First round. Okay.
Yeah,
And that I imagine would send as big of a statement as you can make, right?
no question.
All right. Well, Paul, thanks so much for this. I appreciate it, especially during fight week. And all the best to you on Saturday.
I appreciate it, mate. Have a good one.